Right. So let's say you got a tenant, the property owner got a tenant. What happened uh, when the tenant stops paying the rent? What is what the agent the property manager should do in that case?
Well, really, in that case, communication is key. Uh, has the tenant reached out to you and let you know that they're going to be running into a hard time? Maybe they got laid off for a job or something. Have they reached out to you? That's the first thing that I look at. If they haven't and they're late, I reach out to them and find out what's going on. And if they communicate with me, we can be a little bit more lenient with them. But in all honesty, when that happens, you need to act quickly. Uh, our lease's rent is due on the 1st. It's late on the 3rd. If they haven't paid rent by the 3rd, they're getting an email and a phone call from me and a text message, from me, just trying to communicate with them. If they don't respond to that, we serve them the 3-day notice to pay or quit. They've got 3 days to either catch up the rent or vacate the property. If they don't communicate with us or they don't catch up the rent at that point, we start the eviction process. But really, again, communication is key. And then after that, it's just a matter of following the rules, following the guidelines. Texas is very specific about the eviction process. So, you need to follow those.
I found out in the past that it's not that you start fast. They say you want to be a little bit more lenient. They say, oh no, I'm just going to delay a little bit the judicial process. Uh, is that a good idea? I found out that if you start slow, it's going to take many more days at the end, and it is going to take a longer time to evict the tenant, and it is going to be more loss of income for the property owner.
You definitely want to give the tenant the benefit of the doubt, but like you said, if you give them an inch, they're going to take a mile. So you need to have the rules in place and follow the guidelines as strictly as possible. And when they know that, these are the rules and this is what we expect, then they'll typically will follow the rules and they'll do what they need to do.
Right. What kind of steps can you take with those problematic tenants that causes damage to the property? What are the steps that you need to take in that end for those problems that may happen?
Well, again, communication and, if they've run into hard times before they vacate the property, if I know they're sincere and they're working to try to resolve it, there are programs out there that we can refer them to that will help with their rent payments. So we can refer them to some of those, but at the same time, we're still following through with the eviction process just in case they can't get the assistance they need. But if they vacate the property and there's damages that they've done to the property, that's a little bit different because in eviction court, you can't actually file for the deposit or anything as far as damages and repairs. That's a totally separate case. But we try to eliminate that as much as possible again, because when we have a lease with an owner, and that tenant, we periodically go by that property and check on it. We're going to go by every 3 to 6 months and do basically a visual inspection of the property. We're going to walk through, have they been changing the air conditioning filters? Are they changing smoke detector batteries? Is there any damage that needs to be resolved? Was it caused by the tenant? Was it just something not their fault, but it needs to be taken care of before it becomes a bigger problem? And we'll get those things taken care of. Now, if they move out, and prior to them moving out, we actually give them an extensive move-out checklist. Here's what we expect the property to look like when we get it back. And most of the time, that's going to eliminate a lot of the problems. If there is damage, though, you've got the deposit that you can draw against to pay for any of the repairs that need to be done. So that's, that's one recourse that you have. If the damages are higher than the deposit, then we bill the tenants for them, and then it's up to the owner typically if they want to pursue, um, trying to collect on those damages from the tenants. But 9 times out of 10, they didn't have the money to pay the rent. How are they going to have the money to pay for the damages? We try to eliminate that as much as possible by doing those periodic checks and by giving them the move-out checklist.
Let's talk about the most common questions about a property manager. Uh, let's say I own a house, right? And I need to decide I'm gonna rent the house. I'm gonna sell it. I'm not selling it for the market is slow, or I may hold it as an investment property. What is the best advice, or how do the property manager or the agent, how do the agent should answer that question?
Well, then I guess the first step is to find out exactly what that person's goals are. Are they looking at the property as an investment that they want to hold on to and have an income coming in from every month? Are they holding it primarily for appreciation? Did they inherit the property and they're just looking to sell it and put some money in their pocket? It's a matter of what that person is looking to accomplish. What are their goals? But after that, I mean, as a licensed realtor, we can do a CMA and find out what they could potentially sell the property for. We can also do basically a rental CMA. How much should the property rent for? If you have a loan on the property, we can do all the financial analysis for it. And here's how much your monthly cash flow would be. Here's projected rent increases over the years. So 1 year, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years down the road, here's what your income statement would look like. So yeah, we can do all those analysis for them, but it's a matter of what are they looking to accomplish.
Very good. Let's talk about what are those tasks that a property manager does every day. You were talking about, as you just did a bunch of those tasks. What are those things that what is the job of a property manager?
Wow. Just off the top of my head, let's see. When I sign a new owner that has a rental property, the first thing is to determine if that property is ready to be rented. Are there things that need to be done to make the property more attractive to a tenant? Are there things that need fixed? Are there things, a lot of times, there's things that, are perfectly fine for a homeowner to live in a property, but if it's a rental property, it needs to have different kinds of security, different locks on the doors, peepholes on the front door, for instance. Some of those things are required in certain cities, and if it's a HUD type property, some of those things are required. So is the property ready to be rented? If it's not, we can get it there for you. We can help you get it there. The next thing would be to determine how much the property should rent for. We have to take pictures, marketing pictures, property condition pictures. We take hundreds of pictures of every property before we put it on the market, before a tenant moves in, after a tenant moves in, before a tenant moves out, after a tenant moves out. We take a lot of pictures of properties. We market the property. We screen potential tenants. We show tenants the property. We fill out applications. We screen the tenants. We assist the tenants with the move-in procedures, what they need to do, what they need to document, the condition of the property before they move in. We educate them on the process. Here's where you turn the water off if there's a leak. Here's how you change the air conditioning filters, smoke detector batteries. We walk them through that whole process. We collect the rent every month. We disperse funds to the owner. We handle any maintenance that needs to happen with the property, any tenant complaint, any ongoing maintenance that needs to be done. We've had a lot of storms recently. We've been doing a lot of fence repairs with fences being blown down, so we have to have access to vendors that can do those things. We assist the tenants with the move-out process, deposit reconciliations, getting the property ready to rent again. We provide owners with tax forms. I mean, it's a long list, and I'm sure I just scratched the surface.
Right, right. Thank you for sharing that with us. The next question that I have is, can I sell my house for a good price right now, or can I rent it for a couple of years and then sell it?
Yeah, actually, in the last probably 3 or 4 months, I've picked up several owners that were trying to sell their property, but they couldn't sell it for a price that made sense to them. But maybe they were transferred out of state, or for some other reason they needed to move, and they don't want to sell the property for a loss, or they don't want to, keep the property vacant. So the property manager can step in and lease the property for them. And we can make sure that the tenant is, one, qualified to live in that property and pay the rent, and at the same time that property is being maintained and taken care of for the owner, and potentially even bringing them in cash flow every month. So yeah, for sure it's something that can be done. If you've got property that you eventually want to sell, but right now it doesn't make sense, yeah, contact me. We can figure out a good strategy to keep that property for 1, 2, 3, 5 years and help you turn it into a positive investment.
That is very nice, Jeff. Let's now talk a little bit about from the point of sight of a real estate agent. Real estate agents that want to work in property management. My question is, are you hiring? And I ask a little bit that later. But first, let's understand a little bit about, if I'm a real estate agent, I want to work in property management. I know that I'm an agent. I've been doing residential real estate for a few years. I know that property management is very different. Maybe speak a little bit of different vocabulary, different language, different systems for property management, and what type of jobs are there as a real estate agent? What type of jobs are there in property management?
Yeah, that's a good question. To start off, yes, we are always hiring, always looking for good property managers and good employees. But really around property management, the jobs that are available to a licensed agent, we always need leasing agents. There's always properties where tenants have moved out, or new owners that have vacant property. So a good leasing agent would be someone that would market the property and find the tenants and screen the tenants to fill those properties. We're also looking for property managers, someone that can, market to owners and find the owners that have the properties for rent, and then manage that property for the owner, handle the day-to-day processes, and handle the day-to-day communications with the tenants and with the owners. And then we're also looking for what in the industry is called BDM, or Business Development Manager. And that's someone basically that is primarily sales. Their job is to find the owners and find new doors, new properties to manage. So yeah, we're always looking for licensed people to do those 3 things: leasing agent, property manager, or business development salespeople.
That is awesome. Is that how, if I start I'm a part-time agent, I would like to work part-time. I'm an agent and I would like to work part-time as a property manager. Is that possible?
For sure. Yes. Yes.
Is that possible to work property management as a property manager part-time?
Well, I mean, property management is a completely different animal than real estate sales. So if it's something you'd like to pursue, or at least look into, I'd be more than happy to sit down with someone and talk about the differences and the similarities, because it is a completely different industry, really. But on top of that as well, I mean, we pay, if you want to stick with real estate, but you do have a lot of investor clients that you work with, we, PMI DFW Properties, I feel we have the best referral program there is. We pay higher referral fees than anyone else in the industry, and we guarantee in writing that your client that you refer to us stays your client. Meaning that if you refer someone to us that owns rental real estate and they ever come to us and say, hey, I want to sell this property or I want to buy more investment property, you're going to get those commissions. We're going to refer that person right back to you so you can work with them to sell that property or help them buy a new property.
That's great to know. So you offer referrals. If I don't want to work with the client, I refer it, I make some income. And then if I want to learn and work with property manager, I can start being a leasing agent and working bringing clients to the property management team. Is that a good way to start as a leasing agent?
I think it would be, yeah. That's a great way to learn what's involved from pretty much every angle of the industry. The tenant communication is again, that's one of the most important parts is finding the right tenant. So if you can learn that process, the rest of it would be relatively easy and fall into place pretty easily. So yes.
Yeah, I guess as a leasing agent, my job is to bring owners of real estate so the property management team can do the property management. Is that what type of clients are those ones as a leasing agent that I'm going after? What is the target market?
Well, the leasing agent would be the person that would find the tenants, will go into the properties and do the screening for the tenants and check their qualifications. The property manager and the business development and the salesperson would be the ones that would find the owners and qualify the owners and bring on the new properties. Probably 80% or more of my owners actually live out of state. And then a good percentage of the remaining 20% are high income professionals, doctors, dentists, that they have money to buy properties, but they don't have the time to manage them. So that's why they bring on a professional property management company. Hope that answered the question.
That's very good answer. Yeah, the leasing agent works with the tenants. The business development manager, the BDM, works with the owners, with the landlords.
Correct.
Is the business developer a job mostly calling or driving to see a property owner? What is the job of a BDM?
A BDM's job is basically to find and attract and sign owners of properties. Yes, there would be some travel involved as far as going to look at properties and qualify the properties. We don't take on every property that is brought to us to be managed. Some properties are just, the owners don't or can't put the money into a property that it needs to meet our qualifications. So we don't sign those. But yeah, the business development manager's job is to find, screen, and sign new owners with new properties.
Awesome, very nice. Let's talk a little bit about laws and regulations. It seems like we all know that property management is the most regulated part of real estate. How can a property manager can keep up with all these laws and regulations?
Well, I mean, it's in real estate, there's always continuing education classes that have to be taken. And a lot of times they're around the contracts and they're around the laws that change, and they do change occasionally. So yeah, you need to be familiar with Texas Property Code. You need to be familiar with the federal fair housing laws. You need to be familiar with all of the local cities, because in Dallas-Fort Worth area, there's, I don't know how many different cities, and every city has different guidelines on rental properties. Some you have to have a rental permit, which comes with an annual fee and an annual inspection. The city will have someone go out and actually inspect the property every year. They may or may not require repairs to be done. So you need to know for each property what's required in that city, in that state, the county, and federal guidelines.
Yeah. A Facebook user is asking, what type of technology do property managers use?
I made a list when I first bought the franchise of all the different software programs that we use on a day-to-day basis. And there's about 20 different software packages that we use that PMI has contracted with and basically packaged so they all work together seamlessly. But there's calendar type programs that once we get a new property, we schedule in there lease start dates, lease end dates. We schedule in there property checks where we'll go by, every 3 to 6 months and check on the property. So there's software that does that. Most of our tenants pay their rent electronically through an online portal. So there's, financial software involved that collects that information. And then it automatically pulls out the management fees that we charge, and then the money is deposited into the owner's account. So there's financial software, there's contact CRM type software. I mean, literally there's a lot of software, and an individual trying to manage 10 or 20 properties would not have access to the same systems. When I was managing 10 of my own properties, it took about the same amount of time as it takes to manage about 120 properties through the systems we have in place. So that's how efficient it allows us to be.